The landlord is jealous of my income and raises my rent by $500. I screw him years later for $20,000. Do you believe in karma? I once encountered a greedy landlord who squeezed every penny he could out of me when I was vulnerable. But the wheels of fate have a funny way of turning. Years later, I watched him lose a massive deal, all because of our chance reunion. Want to know how I turned a $1,200 loss into a $20,000 revenge? Let me start from the beginning. It was the late 90s, and the dot-com bubble was still inflating like a giant balloon. My wife, let's call her Emma, and I were newlyweds with a plan. We'd be dinks, double income, no kids for a few years, living frugally to save up for our first home. I'd just landed a job as a software developer that tripled my previous salary. At 23, fresh out of college, I was suddenly making $75,000 a year. In today's money, that's like winning the lottery right out of school. We moved to a new city and found a modest 2-bedroom apartment listed for $950 a month. Enter our soon-to-be nemesis, the landlord, Victor Grimes. Picture a thin, gray-haired man with all the warmth and humor of a calculus textbook. Victor seemed amused by us at first, just another pair of naive newlyweds. But when he saw my income on the rental application, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. "I can't believe how much money you make," he muttered, shaking his head. He repeated this at least 6 times, each mutter making me more uncomfortable. We explained our plan to stay for a year, maybe a couple months more, while saving for a house. Victor nodded, assuring us that month to month after the first year would be no problem. Fast forward 1 year. We'd found our dream home, but it wouldn't be ready for 2 months after our lease ended. No worries, right? We just extend as discussed. I called Victor to arrange the short extension. "Sure, no problem," he said, his voice dripping with false sweetness. "I'll send over the paperwork." When the documents arrived, my jaw hit the floor. Victor had jacked up our rent by $500, over 50%. I called him immediately, my voice shaking with disbelief and anger. "Victor, what's going on? This increase is insane." His voice turned cold and condescending. "It's what the apartment goes for now. I'd be losing money if I charged less." I tried reasoning with him, explaining that we'd be there for just 2 months, that we'd been good tenants. But Victor knew we were trapped. He had us over a barrel, and he was going to squeeze every last drop. His parting words still make my blood boil. "You don't have to like it, you just have to pay it." We had no choice. We forked over $1,450 for each of those 2 months, a full $1,000 more than we'd budgeted. To add insult to injury, Victor kept $300 of our security deposit for dubious cleaning fees when we moved out. The cherry on top, I later saw Victor's rental ad in the paper. He was only asking $150 more than our original rent, not the $500 he'd gouged from us. Even at that lower price, the apartment sat empty for weeks. I was seething, but what could I do? I thought I'd never see justice, until 5 years later. Life had moved on. We had our house, a baby, and I was still employed despite the dot-com bubble bursting. One day at work, I overheard my colleague, let's call him Alex, talking to our receptionist. "Hey Mike, I'm expecting someone to drop off some paperwork. If a Victor Grimes asks for me, tell him I'll be right out." I froze, tasting bile. There was no way it could be the same Victor, right? I approached Alex, trying to keep my voice steady. "How do you know Victor Grimes?" Alex explained that Victor was his real estate agent. He'd bought his condo through him and was now selling it to buy a house. As if on cue, the office door opened and in walked Victor Grimes, looking exactly as I remembered him. Alex introduced us, and I watched the recognition slowly dawn in Victor's eyes. I couldn't resist doing some quick math out loud. "So Alex, you're selling your condo for about $200,000 and buying a house around $500,000. That's $700,000 in total transactions. An agent getting 3% on both ends would make about $20,000. That's a nice commission, isn't it, Victor?" Victor's eyes flashed, and I knew he remembered everything. He made a hasty exit, but not before I called out, "Alex, don't sign anything yet. I have a story to tell you." I spilled everything to Alex. To my relief and gratitude, he was furious on my behalf. "What a jerk," he exclaimed. "There's no way I can use him now. What do you want me to say when I fire him? We crafted the perfect response together. The next day, Alex made the call while I listened in. Hi, Victor. It's Alex. Listen, I've decided to get quotes from other agents. I won't be signing with you. No, you shouldn't give a discount. You'd be losing money if you did that. This is just a decision I've made. No, it has nothing to do with meeting your old tenant. Well, you don't have to like it, Victor. You just have to accept it. Goodbye. And just like that, Victor lost out on $20,000 in easy commissions. The best part? He knew exactly why. Sometimes revenge is a dish best served cold and profitable, and sometimes karma comes back around in the most unexpected ways.